Hi, I'm Sathi Roy. Welcome to my series, Conversations with Phoenix. Direct, powerful, and unfiltered discussions on humanity, the universe, relationships, and the cycles of transformation.
We're in this world. We have to interact with it. And not everybody's meant to walk the same path. We're all going to go to the same place, but we're not meant to walk the same path. And so inner detachment is, that's been another big theme of mine, to understand detachment. And I thought I did. I really did. I totally thought I did. But it was a defense mechanism. It wasn't detachment. It was, it wasn't harmonized. It was, again, running away to something else, right? Distraction through escapism, distraction through, and it wasn't even genuine. It wasn't real. Like the whole, no, I don't care. That's not real. The ones that say that are the most sensitive babies. That was me, right? So
That's such a good way of putting it. We have a saying, if the ego makes you think you're a saint, don't believe it. If it makes you think you're a sinner, also don't believe it.
mm-hmm.
So it has an amazing ability to trick us. And a lot of times what happens is that we mask our own insecurities by putting the veil that it's spiritual.
Right.
I'm being detached. No, actually, you're just being in fear. And you're using modern day philosophical terminology to justify your actions. But in reality, you're just feeding the same, some scars or patterns, but just in a different way.
You're operating out of wounding. You're operating out of the same defense mechanism. And again, the language, that's why language matters, because you can use the words, but like you said in the very beginning, truth is not something you can know in the mind, but it's something you can feel.
Exactly.
So if I say something to you, you're going to take it, right? You're not going to assume it's a lie. So you'll never know. You can only feel if I'm being genuine, if I'm being truthful.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing I had to say, which I really liked about you, is that when we were talking about you coming, you had said, I'm going to get proper, we're going to do this properly, right? If I come, we're going to do it properly.
Yeah.
And I like that, because a lot of times when people are spiritual, they have this idea of detachment. They're like, okay, let's just do whatever and see what happens and we'll go with it. And there is some elements of, okay, let grace flow, but I have to make my effort.
Right.
So detachment is actually effort and grace. Detachment is not just whatever, who cares, the divine will take care. No, if you're lazy, nothing's going to happen.
Totally.
So I enjoyed how you were like, no, let's do this right. And then you come, and then we'll see how the divine arranges it and makes it happen. But we take the steps that we need to. That's real detachment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But again, we go back to the irony, right? Even detachment takes effort. To your point, detachment takes effort. Stillness takes discipline. Discipline takes action, right? So I think about yin and yang, infinity symbols. I think about this stuff all the time, right? Because I just notice it. Now that I'm aware, I notice it in everything. So noticing like yin and yang, how yin is inherently spiritual because your yin is your connection, but it takes yang to understand it. Meaning, like for me to have gone from, I was living a very busy life. I was always doing something. I'd plan every 30-minute slot of my day. Very type A. I was in corporate, that whole thing, and I liked it. I actually have always had a very strong yang energy, which was my strong suit. That's why I did well in the career world, because action wasn't the issue for me. I needed to practice the opposite. I needed to practice that stillness. And so it's, the irony is the amount of effort it took me and to be still and to remain still enough to go through the inner resistance, to face the inner resistance, and then to go into the other side, which is profound, where I found more connected to my yin energy, right? It's the same thing, right? Detachment takes effort. Everything takes effort.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why I always feel people that are successful in the world, if their mind is turned towards spirituality, can be very successful in spirituality because they already have that first element, which is effort. All they need to do is then let go to allow grace to take them the rest of the way. It's almost like when Krishna was giving the teachings to Arjuna in the battlefield. Krishna was saying, okay, you must perform bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, karma yoga. You must do this, you must do that. So Arjuna's listening. It's like, okay, Krishna, you're telling me to do all of these things. Okay, but what are you going to do? And Krishna looks at him and he smiles and he says, I'm going to calm the wind. So when you fire the arrow, it's going to hit the target. And so in this way, you put the effort, I'll take care of the rest. Because you can't calm the wind. You can't control the wind. But you can control the effort that you're doing. But that last part, I'll take care of. And it's the same with spirituality. Make your effort. Do your practices. But that last part, give it to the divine. If it's meant to be, it will happen. If it's not meant to be, actually it'll work out even better for you.
So ritual practices were a thing that growing up I saw, never really resonated with. And now this chapter of my life, I have my own ritual practices. I've created my own. And they weren't anything that was told to me to do. I mean, these were things that I have created for myself because it makes me feel like I'm in closer connection to power, right? My own power, love, divine power. And these practices have been actually very key, very, very key for me. And it's so interesting because when I first started to get into it, you know, to your point of saying like people that are really successful or have a lot of yang energy in like the corporate world, right? If they just channel that energy towards spirituality, they'll do it, right? They'll do it well. Yes, as long as they're also balanced in that, right? Because today we have the ones that'll go to the extreme of their spiritual practices and then almost forget to balance it out with that other end to feel the effect of it. So I had on purpose, I had moments where I was in practice, I would take a step back to see how it felt, right? And then understand what to incorporate in the future because it has to be sustainable. Your practices have to be sustainable because you also can't rely on the practices to feel in connection. These are practices that are there to help remind you or solidify or a moment of intimacy. But these practices inherently shouldn't be the reason that you feel in connection. They're like the modes, right? The modalities to help you get it and then feel it and then bring it back to everything else you're doing in life. So after, I call it the integration period, right? I was like, okay, great. I had my couple months of time where I was really doing my spiritual practices. I took time off of work. I wasn't working. I was, cleansing my body, all of it. I did the whole thing. And it was wonderful. And I felt great. But then I was like, how am I going to do this? Like, how am I going to like live life and then get back into career, get back into seeing family, relationship, and also this, right? Because I can't leave it. So then, to incorporating things that you can do that aren't necessarily, they have to be as lengthy, but it gets you back into that place, that frequency or that connection. So it's been a cool journey to really figure that out. But it really does take just diving in and taking a step back, because otherwise you can get pretty addicted to the feeling because it feels good. It feels good, but you can get addicted to the feeling. And that's why I think you see some people just overdoing it, right? And then it also kind of turns into another escapism. Like you also have to feel into the world.
Yeah, so you have to see there's a difference between going to the dentist every 3 months and then brushing your teeth every day. Right. So you're not going to go to the dentist every single day. And so in that way, there are some practices that are meant to be done once in a while. For example, going to the ashram. If you're not a monk or a nun, you shouldn't be going to the ashram every week. It should be maybe once every few months. Or to do whenever it might be. There are certain practices that should be done once in a while. It's like teeth cleaning. It's important to get the deep clean. But when you go back into the world, the brushing the teeth takes 5 minutes. So your spiritual practice should be 10, 20, 30 minutes at most. Something that helps you to connect to the energy of love, right? So that energy of love, we also describe it in another way. We call it Sat Chit Ananda, which is truth, consciousness, and bliss. And so the things of this world have a material energy associated with them. And that's going to keep you in your mind. But every once in a while, we should be doing a practice that, not every once in a while, every single day, we should be doing a practice that connects us to Sat Chit Ananda, that connects us to this love. And it takes 20, 30 minutes. One of the simplest ways is a mantra practice, right? But you can use whatever you think is appropriate, but just ask yourself, does it carry the energy of love? If that, then immerse yourself in that, and that will give you the clarity, the strength to move forward and do your duty for the rest of it.